What's up, Outlaw Nation? Hey, check it out. What is the best night vision for you who's probably a Minuteman, prepper, hog hunter, father, home protector? What is the best for you? I've got $100,000 worth of night vision to play with right here. I've got the cool opportunity that I've been lucky enough to be able to see a lot of different night vision, but I've got somebody here today who has spent over 2 decades as an operator in several different areas all over the world, who spent more than 250 nights a year under night vision, like it's just his life. And I thought maybe it would be better if he tells you, because you don't seem to believe me. But he's not telling you anything until you push that subscribe button and comment what you think right now is the best set of night vision for the Minuteman, the prepper, the standard American. What do you think it is?
All right, so today I've spent about 20 years now operating night vision devices, day, night, sea, land, air, all of it, cold, hot. And I want to give you some tips, some information on these tools. Everybody's gonna say, I want quads. And okay, but these are tools. These are tools in a toolbox that sometimes they're not always the best tool. I'll dispel some of those rumors, maybe some myths, and kind of show you what they're all good at. All right, so first up, PPS14. You know, you can't go wrong with this thing. It pretty much won the war on terror. More people have been saved, more people have been killed on the other end of somebody using one of these. Still a staple in the US military. Good, high quality, MilSpec PPS14 is a really good tool. It's a monocular, so one eye is obviously, pick the side that you want to run it on, and there's some great advantages of that. Don't want to cover all those right now, but you can start to see why maybe having one eye open, you can run a thermal, you could get on a scope, you can do other things. Maybe it's just real close, maybe it's not that dark, but you still need some augmentation, and you're in a slightly dim room and I gotta look at stuff real close, and I'm doing one of these numbers. Sometimes a monocular is better than having quads on your head doing this for an hour or whatever you're doing walking around. Super lightweight, stick in your pocket, solid piece of kit. Again, won the war on terror. So next up, PPS31s. This is standard issue for SOCOM personnel nowadays. Articulated, dual tube, high FOM. Don't want to get into what FOM means. Runs a battery pack on your rear, kind of acts as a counterweight. Very good set. Really gives you a wider field of view than just a standard mono tube. These have a much, much higher resolution effectively than most PPS14s, so things seem clear. Downsides can be, if you're looking down all the time or something real close, these have a kind of a longer focal length. So things that want to focus real close in, they have a harder time doing it. You end up kind of putzing with it, even when you do the 223 or 556 mod to the ocular in here for the lens cap, they still have a hard time focusing real close. But when you're walking around, they're super light. There's really not a lighter set of duals than PPS31s, which is why they're kind of the standard for all of SOCOM. You can have these on your head for a long time because you don't want a lot of weight on your head. You're already carrying a heavy helmet. You already got all this other crap. It's on your neck all day long, bebopping around, running in a vehicle, things are shaking, your head's bobbing. You don't want 10 more pounds of weight on your head. So super lightweight, still super compact, can put it in my ditty bag. And they work really good for general patrolling, walking around. Can you do CQB with them? Absolutely. Can you shoot farther away with them? Absolutely. They kind of do everything. All right, so next up, the 1531. It's a mashup between the PPS15 and the PPS31. Adjustable diopters in the back. I kind of like this because I kind of have a wonky left eye, so I kind of need a little bit more correction than a normal 31 will give me. Again, a dual tube setup, so you get the same kind of field of view that you would with a normal PPS31, same articulation. Nice feature that they added here was they changed the battery cable location to the back so that each side can fold up, or you get a little bit more articulation in that upward mobility. I mean, you don't have to, you can just leave them down and kind of look underneath, but I like how I can move them up out of the way if I need to. And also the big kind of change between the 31 was the ability to focus a lot closer. So these can focus at much finer closer distances and get a little finer resolution on what you're seeing. So, you know, if you're having to like, do I cut the blue wire or the red wire? This is probably a better choice for that. But overall, especially at distance, there's really no difference between the 31s or even a 14. Field of view is the same as all the other dual tubes out there. All right, so last up, the GPNVG, otherwise known as quads. The Graham Pumbaa, if you would, of night vision, what everybody thinks. So if you don't already know, the big difference here is the angle, the field of view that you can see out of these quads versus something like a dual tube PPS14 or 31 or any other dual tube really out there. So that gives you so much easier or a better way of seeing what is naturally in your field of view. So when you put these on, unlike this where you kind of feel like you're looking through like a sector, kind of like you got blinders on, this gives you that little bit more peripheral and you don't find yourself jerking your head around as much to see what's in a room if you're having to move through something or if you're driving. You don't realize quite how much you look out of your peripherals just in day-to-day life. And these kind of augment that more so than you would ever be able to have with a single or a dual tube setup. So that's the real big difference there. Obviously the major drawbacks are they're heavier and they cost a lot more money, so it just typically means they're unattainable for the majority of the population. So luckily for me at work, these are all just tools in the toolbox. So if I'm running around, kind of like I alluded to earlier, and I'm constantly gonna be in more confined spaces, CQB-ish, right? We'll just kind of use that as a generic term. I'm gonna pick a set of quads. It just gives you that wider field of view, a lot more situational awareness. It doesn't seem like things spook you on the side of your head as much. And you're not constantly turning to make sure you have SA. So that's what I really like about these, or if I have to drive. Doesn't really matter what I'm driving, I like this if I'm having to drive. All right, so if I know I'm also just, hey, I'm doing close in, fine detail kind of work, working on a bomb, working on something like that, having to look down real close to my chest all the time, I'm gonna pick these 1531s that are a little bit more corrected to me and they just focus a lot closer. Now, if I'm in the field, I'm walking around, I'm doing like a recce mission, right? Or a recon mission. I'm driving around on my bike, I'm doing whatever I want. I'm gonna kind of lean towards that PPS31. It's just a little bit lighter. I like it a little more comfortable with it. It's just the choice that I make. Is there a wrong choice? No, you know, operator's choice there, but that's what I pick. Now, some of you are gonna be like, but then what do you use a 14 for? If I'm driving around in the woods here and I'm doing recce and I want to have light on my head, I pick this. And if I'm doing CQB, I should pick this. Like, what do you use this for then? Well, frankly, a lot of times I want to just have a little bit of SA, kind of like I alluded to. Or nowadays, with a lot of clip-on thermal binoculars, I want to run a thermal in either one of my eyes because it gives you so many more things that you can see when you use thermal. Now, somebody's gonna say, well, what about the fused thermal optics out there? Yes, you're right. The BNVD, brand new Army thingamajigger, great. Guess what? Played with it, don't like it. How about a Skeet IR clipped on the bottom of the PPS14? Hey, guess what? Have one, tried it, don't really like it. And the reason is because they give you a shadow and a little bit difference overlaid in your night vision. I like to be able to see this is the thermal, this is the natural light, you know, intensified object, and my brain will put them together. Now, if you're having to move around a lot, either one of those systems is really kind of disorienting until you spend a lot of time behind it. But I really like, if I know I need to use a thermal, I want to stick to a monocular for night vision on one side, because while thermal sees more than just intensifying ambient light, it also misses a lot of things. It also doesn't see through glass and things like that. So I want to have that other high-end option. Now, do I want to grab a green tube, old school PPS14? No. I'm going to get the highest quality, highest FOM, highest resolution PPS14 I can. And yes, it's going to be a white phosphorus. So, not out of date, not useless, still very useful, and absolutely lethal in the right hands. All right, guys, so as a firm believer that every military-aged male should be effectively a Minuteman and be able to be called upon any time to, you know, support and defend the United States of America, you need to have the ability to combat threats in all environments, right? So that includes at night. So you need to be able to fight at night. You know, if you look at what happens overseas right now, they're fighting at night for their freedom, for their homeland. So you need to have something that can do that. And if all you can get a hold of or all you can afford is a PPS14, again, won the war on terror. It is a damn good piece of kit. Get the highest quality you can, get the highest FOM you can get, and then get training to go with it, right? Because just because you slap this on your helmet and, oh man, I got my laser and I got this other stuff, okay, but you need to understand how all these things work together and when you should use one thing and when you shouldn't maybe use something like a laser. And that comes down to just training and getting high quality training from people that have been there, done that, and have studied these things. So I go back to, you're gonna need night vision, and I would caveat this with, buy traditional night vision. There's a lot of digital night vision out there. And while its images look good and it has uses, when you start running that at speed through a house or out in the woods, driving, it lags. It just lags. The processors just are not fast enough. So it's not gonna do the same things that even a middle tier PPS14 will. All right guys, so again, there's no right answer here, there's no wrong answer here. These are tools in a toolbox. So I hope this was helpful, hope it educated you a little bit, make good decisions.